If you listen to that video carefully, you can hear a sound like a propeller. When a 787 Dreamliner's plane passes over you like this, its sound is different. Keep these two videos side by side and listen to them again. You will hear the sound of a propeller in the video of Air India flight. This makes it almost clear that the rat was actually deployed. But then, the next question arises. Why was the rat deployed? There are roughly 3 emergency situations that can be the reason behind the deployment of the rat. First, when the plane has a total electrical failure. Second, when the plane has a hydraulic failure. Or third, when both the engines of the plane fail and there is no power source in the plane. To fail both the engines is called dual engine failure, which is actually a very rare thing. It is so rare that in the last 70 years, only 7 cases of dual engine failure have been identified. But in our case, there are a couple of things that indicate that this might have happened in the Air India flight. First, before the plane crashed, the pilot had told the air traffic control in the Mayday call that there was no thrust.
Not achieved. Falling. Mayday.
When the plane flies, the fast wind from its engine pushes it forward, and this push is called thrust. Not getting thrust shows that there was something wrong with the plane's engine. And secondly, not having the landing gear inside can also be a proof of dual engine failure, because there was not enough power to get the landing gear inside. Now, the next question is, if there was a dual engine failure in this plane, why did it happen? There are 3 different theories behind this, friends. The first and the most popular theory is fuel contamination. Former Deputy Director of National Aerospace Laboratories, S.J. Murlader, believes that there was fuel contamination in this flight. One of the possible reasons, what I can think of, it can be due to fuel contamination. That is, the oil that was put in the plane. The problem was there. According to them, due to fuel contamination, either there was less thrust generated, which prevented the plane from flying up, or, because of this, both the engines failed. The chairperson of the Strategic Aviation Solutions Consultancy, Neil Hansford, also said the same thing to The Guardian, that although the fuel tank was full, the fuel contaminant can cause clogging, and the engine can have problems due to leakage. There can be many reasons behind fuel contamination, like water, dirt, clay, rust, dirt. Even microbial growth, the growth of bacteria and fungus, can cause this. Apart from this, the diesel exhaust fluid used in ground vehicles, if it is mixed with jet fuel, it can form non-soluble crystals, which can actually clog once again. In 2019, 3 similar cases emerged in America. In March 2019, a Boeing 787 had to face dual engine malfunction due to fuel contamination in Japan. Thankfully, there was no major accident in this case. The pilot was able to land the plane safely despite this. But if this is the reason behind the Air India crash, then the blame will also be on the fuel suppliers. There are 3 fuel suppliers at Ahmedabad Airport: Indian Oil, Arat Petroleum, and Reliance. Fuel contamination means that the fuel was not tested properly, and the rigorous testing of aviation fuel is very important. The second possibility is total electrical failure. A senior pilot told Times of India that the plane's variable frequency starter generators failed, which provide electrical power to start the engines. When the generators failed, the electronic engine controls stopped working. When this happens, auxiliary power units are installed in all such aeroplanes for emergency cases. They work like a backup to supply electricity, but they can take up to 90 seconds to start, and this plane, unfortunately, didn't have these 90 seconds. If both the engines and the auxiliary power units fail or disconnect from the power system, then the electronic engine controls can stop controlling the thrust, even though the engines are still running. In such situations, the pilots will try to increase the thrust through their controls, but actually, there will be no response because the controls are not working. In such a technical emergency, handling an aircraft becomes extremely challenging because the pilots don't have the normal flight controls available. This happened in 2013 with two Dreamliners of the Japanese airlines. After the battery failed, they had to land in an emergency. In one flight, the cockpit was filled with smoke. In the other flight, the fire generated so much heat that the bolts connecting the battery to the rack melted. We observed a heavy smoke condition, and we found a fire condition in the avionics compartment. The smoke was traced to a meltdown in the Dreamliner's lithium-ion batteries. The reason behind both these incidents was the manufacturing defect of Boeing. And after that, the entire world's Boeing 787 Dreamliner planes were stopped from flying.
Now we have breaking news from the FAA tonight. They are grounding the Dreamliner.
Just over a year after the 787 had finally entered service, the Federal Aviation Administration grounded the entire fleet.
It's grounded until it can prove to the federal government that the airline has fixed the problem with the battery that continues to overheat.
Just over a year after the 787 had finally entered service, the Federal Aviation Administration grounded the entire fleet. It's grounded until it can prove to the federal government that the airline has fixed the problem with the battery that continues to overheat. One of the reasons for the engine failure can be a mechanical error, and this can also be related to manufacturing. In 2020, a Norwegian airline accused Boeing of diverting many flights due to engine problems in the Dreamliners. The airlines had to shut down many of their routes, and dozens of times the engines of their planes were changed. In 2023, this airline had to sell its Dreamliner plane in scrap metal, the plane that it had bought for cruise 10 years ago. It was an amazing case. Boeing's Dreamliner plane has faced problems many times before, but still, this plane type is considered to be one of the safest plane types, because in all these cases, no accident happened, no one died. This crash of Air India is the first plane crash of any Dreamliner plane. If this plane crash happened due to electrical and mechanical failure, either it could be due to a manufacturing defect or it could be due to a maintenance failure. If there is a manufacturing defect, it will be blamed on Boeing. But if there is a maintenance failure, it will be blamed on Air India Engineering Services Limited. Although Air India is Tata-owned, this other company is still a government company, which is responsible for the maintenance of the planes. Air India's majority 787 Dreamliner planes are maintained by this government company. Now, this plane crash, friends, this exact same plane has already faced problems. In November 2021, this plane was going from Hyderabad to London, and in between, the fuel leak was seen. Because of this plane had to do an emergency landing in Ankara, Turkey. Along with this, like the other Dreamliners, this plane had issues of windshield cracking and battery overheating. I had already given you an example of battery overheating, because of which, in January 2013, Dreamliners were grounded globally. But just a few hours before the crash, there is a video of Akash Vatsa here, in which we can see that neither the AC was working properly, nor any entertainment screen was working, nor the remote was responding to any button. So many people there using these magazines. This is not working at all. And as usual, your TV screens are also not working. Neither this button for calling the cabin crew. Nothing is working. The last comprehensive check of this plane was done 2 years ago, in June 2023. And after that, in March 2025, its right engine was repaired. And in April 2025, the left engine was inspected. The next comprehensive check of the plane was to be done in December 2025. In this matter, friends, the manufacturer of this plane, Boeing, has raised several questions. According to an investigation by Al Jazeera, the Federal Aviation Administration of the United States had given permission to the lithium-ion batteries and other new features in the Dreamliner without rigorous testing. It's the FAA's job to regulate air safety. When it comes to the battery and beyond, Boeing largely polices itself. The batteries passed Boeing's tests. In line with the FAA rules, Boeing said the 787 batteries would virtually never catch fire on board an aircraft. Then they failed twice in just 9 days. Many current and former employees of Boeing have claimed that the Dreamliner planes are made carelessly in the factory. In April 2024, an engineer in Boeing, Sam Salapa, complained to the FAA that the Dreamliner's parts were joined in a wrong way. Because of this, there is a risk of them breaking in the middle of the sky. He said that its parts are being made from different places to save money, which don't fit with each other properly. This engineer had also told his supervisors about these safety issues, but no one listened to him. In 2019, in the New York Times investigation, Boeing's own employees questioned the safety of the Dreamliners made in the Charleston factory. These employees had claimed that the Dreamliners had faulty parts. Many times, metal pieces like malware were left inside the planes, and they were pressured not to tell anyone about these violations. According to a technician working in this Boeing factory, Joseph Clayton, he often found pieces of metal near the wires under the cockpit, because of which he told his wife that he himself would never fly in a Dreamliner. The quality manager, who worked in the Boeing company for more than 30 years, John Barnett, had said that no such plane has been made from this factory, about which he can say that it is safe and capable of flying. Al Jazeera gave a secret camera to a worker and asked him to record the footage inside the Boeing factory. This worker asked his 15 colleagues,
"Would you fly on one?" "Oh, no. You won't fly on one." "Would you fly on one of these planes?" I would fly one of these planes. You wouldn't? Why wouldn't you? Huh? Why wouldn't you? Because I see quality here going everywhere.
In this way, friends, in the last few years, questions have been raised on Dreamliners, but in their defense, it has always been said that if this plane is so unsafe, so bad, then why has not a single Dreamliner crashed till date? On this, John Barnett had said a few years ago that the carelessness in making any plane can take 10 to 12 years for the plane to crash. And now, the Dreamliner that Air India crashed was 11 years old, from 2009 to 2016. According to Cynthia Kitchens, the quality manager at the Boeing Charleston factory, the 787 Dreamliners that were given to Air India had many problems. In 2012 to 13, 11 Dreamliners were delivered whose quality was so bad that Cynthia Kitchens said that many times they couldn't sleep at night. Out of these 11 allegedly damaged planes, 6 were sold to Air India. When Cynthia Kitchens told her boss about these problems, she asked her boss if she would ever travel with her kids in these planes. Do you know what her boss said? "Cynthia, none of these planes are going to stay in America. They're all going overseas." "What? Are you serious? These will only be given to the airlines of developing countries." As if the lives of the people of other countries are worthless. Similarly, an investigator from Al Jazeera who interviewed the employees of Boeing said that he was particularly worried about 3 planes, which had to be delivered to Air India in the first month of 2014. These planes had many serious flaws. The 787 Dreamliner that crashed on the 12th of June was also delivered on the 31st of January, 2014. Is this supposed to be a coincidence? Critics from all over the world have been saying for years that Boeing is more concerned about its profits than safety. They look for shortcuts to save money, which leads to plane crashes. Before this, in October 2018 and March 2019, 2 brand new 737 MAX planes of Boeing had crashed, in which 346 people died. In order to avoid legal action in the matter, Boeing had settled $1.1 billion with the US Justice Department. But the question should not only be asked to Boeing, but also to Air India. Boeing's planes are delivered to many airlines, but there are many airlines in the world with which there has been no such problem. Forget about the crash. Ever since Tata Group has taken over Air India, the problems have not been lessened. Pilots say that they don't get a chance to rest during flights, because of which they remain fatigued. In May 2024, 300 crew members of Air India Express went on mass sick leave together, and they had switched off their phones.
Big news coming in. A mass sick leave by senior cabin crew has halted the operations. Up to 300 senior cabin crew members have reported sick. This is a last minute.
Similarly, in July 2023, when the DGCA team checked 13 random points, they found that these safety points had never been audited, and Air India was giving fake reports of audits. And look at this news from a day ago. A flight from London to Mumbai. 5 passengers and 2 crew members fell ill mid-air. The reason for this is being suspected as food poisoning. Thanks for watching.